Welcome back to the Mayor's Report. We've got some exciting stuff to talk about again this week. I was thinking the other day whether we'd always have topics to cover, but then we have another council meeting on Monday night and there's lots of stuff to talk about. So let's start with a couple of great things that happened. First of all, the Horton Market had its first opening day last Saturday. Got here, couldn't find a place to park, had to go around the block a couple of times, found a place to park, and shoulder to shoulder. It is a great, if you're not going to the Horton Market every Saturday, and I shop while I'm there, but mostly I go for the music and the conversation and the fun part. So you'll be able to meet your mayor there most Saturdays. Come on out and ask me any municipal question you have, and maybe we'll get some more ideas for this report. But what a fantastic group of vendors were there Saturday, and the city came out in full force. One of the other things we're trying to do at Horton Market so we can get more people there is pave the parking lot. The parking lot has been a gravel parking lot for years, and it has a number of potholes we think big enough to be hiding used cars. So we're going to work on, the council is talking next Monday night about the paving of the Horton parking lot and what else the municipality, the city can get out of having that paved lot there, what other uses there are for it. So come on out to the Horton Market every Saturday. Starting now, it'll run through November. It's the place to be on Saturday mornings. Great food, great friends, great time. We also, this week, some more items to report. We talked a lot about the downtown in the last couple of reports, about murals, about businesses opening. One of the other topics of conversation that's ongoing right now with council is the closed circuit TV cameras that we're working together with the DDB, the city itself, the police, in installing some cameras downtown to have a great view of the downtown. They wouldn't be monitored all the time, but they would give the police records if we needed to look at them. They would give us a great chance to follow up on incidents if we need to. So it's in the works. We know that there's a bunch of steps that have to go forward. Certainly a lot of privacy issues that happen when you're taping, and you can't leave the film for a long time. It's good for 48 hours, and then if you haven't needed it, you don't have it anymore. So we're going to follow all of those things, but we think we can make St. Thomas a more fun and brighter place by also having some more security on Talbot Street. So the first one we think would be put up at Talbot and Ross as a view of that area, and then we would slowly work our ways back and forth on Talbot Street. Another unique thing that we've been talking about at council is St. Thomas Airport. For those of you that don't know, we have an airport. Yes, we do, out Talbot East, outside of the city, and it's used for there's some pilot training courses that happen there. There's also a lot of commercial traffic that comes in and out for some of our local factories or short emergency shipments. Oft times you'll see a lot of very nice looking jets out there, people who've flown in to go play at Red Tail Golf Course. So our airport is fairly well used, and municipalities like the size of St. Thomas are best served if they can have their own airport rather than people having to only drive there. But we have a real problem. Our airport isn't that big and it doesn't generate a great deal of funds. So as a municipality, we continue to say, we need to pave a runway, but paving a runway is like $4 million worth of work. And so we found some infrastructure funding from the federal government that we'll ask for. It's for rural airports infrastructure. We're a rural airport and we have infrastructure, so we're asking them for it. Well, let's see what happens. If we can do that, then it makes it better for things like our air show and other events held out there for sure. It gives us a lot more of an emergency runway than we currently have. So St. Thomas, entering the airport age in a big way by looking at paving one of our runways. And this is coming out of a fund that is only available to do that type of work. So it's not like we could ask for this money and do something else with it. But we thought, since it's for rural communities with airports, we would ask. If we don't, well, the airport runway paving would stay in our infrastructure needs, and over the time we would get to it. But this will help us move it forward quicker. More to report from council this week also. It's fun to, I'm now sitting at council thinking, hey, we can put this in the next mayor's report. So last night we had 3 really interesting reports come forward, all from our social services department. First was a report on Ontario Works, and it has to report to Council once a year to tell us how we're doing on employment projects through Ontario Works, how many people are being serviced still through St. Thomas's Ontario Works. And remember, we also, through our social services department here in St. Thomas, do the work for all of the county from a social services point of view. So our numbers are, we have about 1,400 people right now on social assistance, and that number to me is way too high, but it's down significantly over the last couple of years, and we continue to, as employment ramps up in St. Thomas, move more and more people off. And that's truly what the discussion was last night, is what is the best path to continue to move people out of our social assistance system and into employment. The best social assistance program there is a job. So that was a great report, and we talked a lot about it last night. We also talked about children's services and daycare programs, which the city also administers, and moving along that way. And there's an increase now in kids in daycare. But the other one that interests me the most is there's a 10-year report out, or there was 10 years or 5 years ago, on housing issues in St. Thomas, housing and homelessness. So this was kind of the halfway report that's now being sent to the Ontario government. So our Director of Housing was here last night talking to us about had we made our goals, and we were asking some fairly pointed questions. As you know, we've had some conversation of what the housing needs are here in St. Thomas, and we're working really hard to try and work on that. But there's some real ranges, whether it's from sheltered, through assisted housing, through affordable housing, through market rent, and then what our home builders do best, building single-family homes. And so we're coming back in June with a much more detailed report. And I've asked the Director of Housing to please, the Manager of Housing to please come with us with a report card. Are we improving? Are we getting better? Because if we're not, we maybe need to put more emphasis in, more plans in, more work together with communities. The essence of the report that he brought last night was there's a lot of community organizations working together on housing. Some of them are being extremely successful. The YWCA and their youth homelessness program is a model to be followed. So let's start working throughout the whole community on housing and see what we can bring together to help solve it. But it's you know, I've always said if we don't measure it, we'll never know if we're moving the needle forward or not, and we need to be able to do that. We've had a couple of questions come in about our pollution control plant. It's the plant that covers all of the wastewater in town, goes through the pollution control plant to be cleaned before it heads off through Kettle Creek and back out to Lake Erie. So it's a pretty important function that most municipalities, you know, rather not talk about, but it is what we need to do. Our capacity at our plant, there's still a lot of capacity there, that we can build more homes and more businesses in St. Thomas, and that plant can handle it. But there has been talk over the time of odors. I mean, pollution control plant is not a place I would be taking the family on the tour of St. Thomas. And so we talked last night about a new filtration system going in. I've had conversations with the Director of Environmental Services about what we can do. And of course, every problem like this is solvable if you want to spend enough money to do it, right? Now, most of our odor problems happen in rainy weather. It's been a pretty rainy spring because the plant has to work harder, right, when there's more water flowing through it. But I'm not an expert on pollution control plants, but I am an expert on sometimes how unpleasant it is driving up Sunset Drive. So we will continue to look at what steps can the municipality take within its budget to also make that a pleasant drive for those that are coming through St. Thomas on their way to Port Stanley, and for the rest of the citizens of St. Thomas that live in that area. We're working on different filtration systems. We'll do what we can. It will never be zero. It is a pollution control plant, and it's a necessity. As part of our study for the growth for the rest of St. Thomas, the new part of St. Thomas, we think we have enough capacity, but we all have to plan during that study, will we need more pollution control plant, more wastewater cleaning ability later on? So it's something we'll look for in the next 10 years. And that's our report for this week. Thank you for joining us for the Mayor's Report. This is getting to be a lot of fun. I ask you to do a couple of things. Please leave us a comment about how we're doing. Please leave us your questions so that we can answer them and we can talk more about our community, good things and bad. We're not afraid of anything here. Please ask us anything. Will you also do what we do? Share this with everybody you know. We're trying to get the facts out as to what the municipality is working on, what's fun in the city, what needs to be worked on. Look, we even talked pollution control plants this week. How good does it get? No, share it with your friends. Share the pollution control part with some of your friends that you don't care for that much. But please, next week we'll see you back on Mayor's Report.